Of course, as a church, we are grieving today. Hearts are broken today. If you're part of our church family, then you understand, you know about this, that our brother Frank Taormina went home to be with the Lord on Friday. If you're listening and you're not familiar with our church, wouldn't be able to even begin to tell you the hole that this has left in our church and in our hearts to lose a man like this. Frank and his dear wife Joanne and their family, their children Cora and Frankie then when they were little, have been a part of our church since I believe 1983. I think it was 1983. That's 37 years. 37 years have been a part of this church family. And not sitting on the sidelines, but boy, almost right from the beginning, Frank, when he and Joanne got saved and the children got saved, they became a part of the fabric around here. They became a part of almost every ministry that goes on in this church, I think maybe except the music ministry. Frank has been a part of it and at one time or another led it down through the years. I remember when I first came to this church many years ago, not long after Frank and Joanne came, Frank was the adult Sunday school teacher. And if I'm not mistaken, somebody told me just recently that at that time, this would be 36 years ago, he was teaching through the book of Hebrews on Sunday mornings. I told Bobby the other day I want to get Frank's notes because I could probably use them in my on the Wednesday night Bible study that we're doing now in the book of Hebrews. But Frank was, our brother was a adult Sunday school teacher here. He was a deacon for many, many years here in our church. He was a graduate of our Missionary Training Institute way back in that day when Pastor Dan Sabaka was still here. Frank graduated from a Missionary Training Institute, went on more mission trips than I can count. I tried this morning just to think about, I'm probably going to miss some, but I know he went to Mexico several times on trips with us, been to the Philippines more than once with us on mission trips, went to the Navajo Indian Reservation on a mission trip, went to Ghana. I went back through old pictures. Frank was there in trips to Ghana in West Africa, went to Scotland, not just a couple of years ago, and went to Israel with us and on a trip there, and I'm probably forgetting some, but was just a part of all of those things. And then for quite a long period of time, I think it was 8 or 9 years, he was the youth leader here in our church. Him and Joanne, even though they were not young at the time, they agreed to take on the responsibility of just ministering to our teenagers and did a tremendous job. That's why Frank was completely gray and his beard, but they did a wonderful job for those years. And then after that, they took on the Joy Ministry. And the name of that ministry was Frank's idea. It stood for Just Older Utes. And the Joy Ministry. And that was our older singles and senior citizens. And Frank and Joanne did that so faithfully for many years until a lot of our seniors ended up graduating to heaven. But and then probably the biggest job Frank ever took on was after he had already retired and could have just kicked back and sat in a rocking chair and relaxed a little bit and enjoyed his retired years. When he retired from his work on the docks, on the New York City docks, Frank came to me and said, I want to work in the print shop. And at the time, we needed someone to lead it and to get involved, and Frank got involved in our print shop, having no experience or no knowledge in how to run the equipment up there. There's a lot of different kinds of machines, and Frank learned how to run those machines. He reorganized the print shop. I was in there yesterday. I had to cut some paper, and it was just almost overwhelming. Just to his fingerprints, his personality is in there because everything is organized, everything is labeled, everything is in its place. And God help you if you ever moved anything out of its place or touched anything or didn't put something back where it was or cover a machine up when you were done with it. We were all in trouble if that ever happened. But the print shop was his love, and I think he worked harder in the print shop than he probably did in the years that he worked on the docks. And every week on Saturdays, we would go out on Operation Jerusalem, and our goal every week was to have enough literature to visit and leave at 1,000 homes. And most people in our church don't have any idea how much work that took during the week to get that literature ready. And others, there were many faithful volunteers, that came and helped. But Frank was always the driving force. And even in the evenings, many times I'd go up there in the evenings, and Frank and Joanne would be there at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, working in the print shop, just the two of them. So it's just impossible to estimate just the loss to our church. Obviously, the loss to our dear sister Joanne and Cora and Frankie and their families. But Cora texted me on Friday, just shortly after Frank had gone home to heaven, and I just responded by saying crying and rejoicing. And I think that's probably describes our situation as a church. Crying, heartbroken, but rejoicing. Because praise the Lord, we have the promises of God, and we do sorrow, but not as others which have no hope. We sorrow because of our loss. But then when we start thinking about Brother Frank's gain, oh, wow, what a joy, what a joy. And then it just gets us all longing for heaven and longing for that day of our reunion. And we just thank the Lord for our dear brother. I don't know exactly what we'll be able to do. And of course, the family will let us know, but we've talked about the possibility as soon as we're able to meet again as a church that we'll be doing a memorial service. Obviously, we can't do a funeral now, but there'll be a memorial service once we're able to gather together again as a church. So please, if you will, continue to pray for the family, for Joanne especially, just that the Lord would comfort her heart and help her. The song said it all. When death comes and takes our loved ones, it does leave our homes lonely and drear. And yet, we have that blessed hope one of these days, and it looks like very soon we're going to be together again as a church family. There's already a pretty growing corner of heaven for First Bible Church folks. Cora or Bobby sent me a couple of pictures recently of, and this one, I don't know, we got to frame this, put it up somewhere. Some of you might have seen it. It's a picture of Frank and Bob Bowman Sr. Standing on the dock of the print shop in an open door, waving. It was almost like, I didn't see it as waving goodbye. I saw it as like waving from heaven. Hello, when are you guys coming? And of course, Bob went home to heaven. A faithful man also went home to heaven about a year ago. And they were just two peas in a pod in a way. I mean, they were always together, helping each other, working in the print shop. And that picture of the two of them waving from the door of the print shop was just very, very poignant. And then someone else sent me a picture of the four amigos on the dock of the print shop. Frank, Bob Bowman, John Manella, and I think Tony Avella was in that picture. And of course, all four of those men were so faithful in the printing ministry, and all four of them now are now in heaven. So what a I don't know, an empty spot is left, an empty chair and an empty spot in our lives, an empty spot in our ministry. But the comfort we have is, praise the Lord, we're looking forward to heaven, and we see that day approaching. So pray for the family,